everyone. Welcome back to another episode of Creative Side Podcast. We have the home team here, Cody and Shane.
Yeah.
And if you're a regular here, you've kind of noticed that we've been MIA for a few weeks. So, guys, do you want to share anything about that?
It's just been so busy, Casey, that there's so many things going on at Creative Media Group that it's been hard, and spring coming on and stuff like that. And guests have been a little bit harder to get and things like that. So we're all busy, it seems like.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Yeah, I know for me, it's just like a lot of things have been happening, especially on the home front, a lot of moving parts, especially with the ministry and whatnot. And yeah, there's things going on with CMG as well. I'm grateful to be a part of, but yeah, things have been a lot busier.
Tell us where you're at on the ministry front, Cody.
Oh my God. So Nehemiah's Gate has been offered a wonderful opportunity, and that is to, through a mutual friend, there's a property owner here in town that has a house that needs to be renovated, but she has graciously offered us the opportunity to house these men in this house and under an agreement for a greatly reduced rate for rent. I mean, greatly reduced rate. And really what this is going to be able to do is lessen the financial burden that these men are going to have as they transition out of incarceration, and it really helps Nehemiah's Gate to fulfill its mission and purpose. And there is renovations, and although the lady has graciously said that she is going to take the financial burden of that, I know I've been connecting with people within the community to kind of help defer the costs by, I know Victory does Serve Day, and other church communities does things of that as well. And so I'm actively reaching out to different congregations and people within the community to see if they would like to partner up with us to kind of help get this thing moving and just ready for these men to be discipled.
Are you ready for it to just happen right now at this very moment?
Well, here's the thing. If it was to happen and we was to accept our next man or our first man tomorrow, then it's all on Jesus, it's all on Jesus. And here's the cool thing, I spoke with a gentleman yesterday at the county jail, went down there and visited him and shared with him the good news. And he's like, first of all, his heart's for he really is serious about wanting to walk this thing out. And he is one of the prime persons that this program is for. And I hate to say the word program, this ministry. Mm-hmm. Let me take that back. This is what this ministry is for, is to help this gentleman make that transition not only into community and society, but also, and most importantly, into the life that God has called him to be. And he told me, he says, I don't care. I'll sleep on the floor. I can swing a hammer. I can read a tape measure. I can use a speed square. I mean, no lie. It's just that the fact is he's willing to want to be a part of the restoration process of the house. And this is what I think what is really cool. My wife, Jamie, has talked to me about, what if that's the model? What if the model of Nehemiah's Gate as it starts is for men to be a part of the restoration process, to get their hands dirty, to do the hard work physically, because they're getting to see firsthand with their own eyes what's happening internally with their spirit, man. You know what I mean? And so they're seeing the restoration process physically as well as spiritually.
That's so good.
Yeah.
So do you have a set deadline where you want to be fully operational?
As of this point, we do not have a date. Mm-hmm. We are moving as the Lord and as the doors open. Mm-hmm. One of the most important things is I don't want to rush this. It does not need to be rushed. Mm-hmm. It's going to come in his timing. So listen to this. This is what's really cool. And this is what God has done and I've seen done in my life when it comes to him working in or around my life. Mm-hmm. He always puts that nod of, yep, I'm a part of that, where you see his fingerprints, right? Mm-hmm. So the owner of the property she lives out of town, right? So she comes here periodically or whatnot. And the only time that she had available when she was in town was last Sunday, right? And that was Palm Sunday. Okay. And that was just, my spirit just tugged so hard at me. And I was like, so what's the significance there? And I was looking for that God nod, right? And so you think about it. When Jesus rode into Jerusalem, he rode in on a donkey, and they laid down palm branches and cloaks. Mm-hmm. These people were laying down things of earthly value to allow the king to ride in, right? Well, in the same sense, the lady is offering her home, laying down her home as the environment for the king to ride into, to bring these people into restoration, into redemption, into transformation, and into the right fellowship and relationship with God. And in the same sense, you know, Jesus rode in not on a war horse like they were expecting him to, but he rode in on a donkey, you know, a thing of a humble creature, of low creature, you know, and that in itself was symbolic. They said that him riding in on a donkey means that he came in peace, right? In same way, the house may not look the best right now. It needs renovating, but God uses the humble to bring the holy.
Yeah.
You know, so it's like, okay, yeah, there you are, Jesus, you know?
Yeah,
So.
That's good, Cody.
It's awesome,
That's
man.
good.
It's awesome.
What about you, Shane? What you got going on?
Oh my gosh, you know, it's been on the if I'm pausing here, I'm literally switching the show here from an iPad, and you wouldn't think it takes that much concentration to do that, but it does, and it's hard for me to think and do this at the same time.
Yeah, you might want to switch on you too.
Yeah. Oh. So if you see some camera bumbles like that, that's what it is. So I'm going to try to do this, but we wanted to bring on, you know, all of us today. And I think we want to do that in the future more often for
Absolutely.
Creative Side. But on the creative media group front, there's just it's really begun to get busy. And, you know, yesterday I was out helping a church in a community in Morganfield, actually, put in a sound system. So, you know, that's some of the things that we do. We love to help small churches elevate to the next level, whether that be with their sound or maybe their live stream, or whatever that is, to help them get the spoken word out clearly. I mean, it's a big deal. You know, so many churches struggle with that. And if you're trying to live stream your service or something like that, and it's, you know, it's not heard clearly, then you need to address that. So we've been seeing a lot of that come around, along with, you know, other things as well. But that has been one of the things that I've been after lately.
So how rewarding is it to help a church that's not a part of your church?
Oh my gosh, it is so rewarding. You know, we've worked together at our church, and we know how rewarding that is. But going out to another church, because I remember the days whenever we were on an extremely shoestring budget, and we're trying to tie a camera to audio to figure out a way to start live streaming. And that's the way we started. And, you know, now, I mean, we still need to make advancements on our end, but we have advanced. You know, now we've got a team and of people that are there to help us make the live stream the best that we can. And I was, just before we started taping this this podcast today, I was in another local church here in this town, and the first thing when I walked in and started looking at their setup, I'm like, man, you guys got a pretty good setup here. And I said, you got a team that runs this, and that usually is one of the struggles. So I started to encourage him about, you know, identifying some team. within your church that would love to do that. Find people that are passionate about, setting that camera shot, running that audio, and then give them some ownership in it. Let them round table with you as the pastor about, what they believe in their mind could help bring this thing forward. That gives them some ownership in it. And so there are some churches out there that have equipment, and there's a lot of them that don't. But some of them that have equipment don't have a team, or either their team might not know how to run it right. And there's certain principles when it comes to audio and video that, we could help shortcut somebody to, and that's what we were talking about. I'm going to go back, do some training with some of their team to help them understand, how to get a microphone sounding correctly. It's so important.
Yeah.
If that microphone doesn't sound correct, then your message is not translating correct. And so I've been doing a lot of that lately.
Good.
Yeah.
That's so good. And it's important. So even though we're in different church structures, we're still a part of the same body. And the fact that you are willing to go to other churches and mentor them and coach them on the next steps in their audio, I think it's a great example of the generosity of Jesus Christ. So I think that's so wonderful.
Absolutely. I mean, like yesterday, going out in another church, in another community, and I was there for a lot of hours getting this in. And at the end of the day, we had it all set up sounding great, and was able to take their sound guy and sit down with some basic principles. But I loved what I was doing all day long. It wasn't that I was just getting paid financially to make ends meet. We got to do that. But it was doing something that I love and was able to help them elevate from that. And that's really what, all of us believe, those things, and the things that you're doing with your ministry. It's about elevating, people that come from whatever background it is, and you're helping them elevate to another level and become the men of God they should be, and stuff like that. So that's kind of the way I like to look at it, is helping, whether it's a church or a business. It could be a business too. And, like me and Cody has been working a lot lately on doing some advertisements and marketing for particularly equipment businesses around the country. And we've been seeing a lot of increase on that. So, yeah, I mean, I could go on for days about that.
Yeah. I'm glad you brought that up, because Cody, I wanted to ask you, how important is it to have time management?
It's extremely important because if I don't have time management, and I'm going to be honest, completely transparent, I'm still working at that. And I'm just seeing how important it is actually becoming of how I'm going to have to do that. Because if not, everything, you've got a lot of things on the line. Number one, I work a full-time job as well. Hope and mission or dream is to transition full-time into the ministry. But also, I love what CMG is doing. I always want to be a part of that, because, Shane shared a little bit about his heart and what he enjoys and the passion. But if I don't have time management, I can't be effective and I can't do things well, because then I'm like, okay, Lord, I got to scramble over here. I got to scramble and do this. But if I can set out segments of time to devote myself into this project right now, then it all becomes effective. So definitely time management is definitely crucial.
And I'm going to switch gears for a minute and put you both on the spot.
Uh-oh.
Have you guys read any good books lately?
Oh, she did that. Hey, Will, how you doing?
Yeah, I read Will's book. No,
Yeah.
no, I should. I'll go ahead and just be honest up front.
Yeah.
I don't read a lot. I do gain a lot of knowledge from listening more than reading. And I don't know if I'm just that type of guy that if there's not a lot of pictures, it's hard for me to stay interested in it. So
They have some children's books, you guys.
yeah, children's book would work for me. But I, I haven't done a lot of reading. Now, I have read some books.
Yeah.
But one of the books that stands out in my mind is the QBQ. Am I on the wrong shot again?
Yeah, you are.
Right.
I'm sitting over here trying to say, hey, check.
Guys, look, if I'm on the wrong shot, just tell me immediately.
Okay.
Right?
Okay.
So I don't have a monitor in front of me. So if you're the viewer and you're watching me look over here, I'm looking at a monitor. It's over there, and I'm trying to pay attention to this. So, wow. Oh well.
It's
if you
all right.
notice it, just let me know.
Yeah.
I'll
All right.
switch it. Okay.
Okay.
Or I can hand you the switcher.
I don't even know how to work that thing.
Well, it's like 4 buttons.
Okay. Let me
So
see.
you've got here. I'll just go ahead.
All
You've
right.
you got camera 1.
Okay.
That's this shot over here,
Okay.
and then you got camera 2,
Okay.
which is that shot right over there.
Okay.
You got camera 3,
Okay.
and then you got camera 4, which is you.
Okay.
So if you want to try it,
Yeah, let me try
Yeah,
it.
let him operate. He's never done
Hey
it.
guys, please don't be critical. This is the first time ever
hey,
in my life.
while we're talking about that, and it's fun. So, think about the shot here.
Uh-huh.
Make
Oh
sure
yeah,
you have the
that's
right
right.
shot.
Now I see what you're saying. Okay.
All right. So it's fun to do this kind of stuff. And that's why I kind of set this studio up, because I love doing that. That's one of the reasons why I wanted to start this podcast, is to do that. So if you are out there and you want to do a podcast,
Yeah.
because I'm running into a lot of people that they want to do a podcast, I want to let them know that they can contact us. We can shoot their podcast for them.
Mm-hmm.
There's a lot of equipment involved in doing a podcast the right way. And obviously, which camera shot you on? You over here?
Yeah.
You on 3?
Yeah.
So obviously, we're not doing it the right way right now, because we're trying to shoot it as we're thinking.
Yeah.
And that's hard for me it's hard for me to think about 2 things, right?
Yeah.
So, but if somebody come in and wanted to shoot a podcast with us, I'm going to be over there on the switcher
Yeah.
and the audio and stuff like that, making sure that's coming off really good. So that's just another thing that we can do here. If somebody has interest, they can message us, give me a call
Absolutely.
direct or whatever.
That is your invitation.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yes.
Yeah. Let's see what else Casey's got. Maybe she's got some more good questions.
Well, you didn't finish answering.
What was the question?
You said
See?
there is a book that I had read.
Oh, the QBQ,
Okay.
the question behind the question. Have you ever read it?
I have not.
It's really short, and it's just really and I'm trying to think who the author is. Gary, I can't remember, but anyway, I picked it up from a recommendation from Dave Ramsey,
Mm.
and is like kind of like a self-help, because I need a lot of self-help, But it's a good book. I've got it in my bookshelf at home. I do have a bookcase. It's got a lot of books on it. I don't read, but Serena reads
We're
more.
going to need proof.
Serena reads books. I don't read books.
Mhm.
I go watch videos.
Have you thought about getting Audible?
I thought about it. I don't drive nearly as much as I used to. So whenever I was driving for my job, basically getting to one of my clients or around to my clients, I was logging 50,000 miles a year just about on my car. And, you got a lot of time then to do that kind of stuff. And there were times where I would have go listen to podcasts or listen to books. Now I don't do work in that capacity anymore. So no, I haven't thought about getting that. I'm just going to be honest.
What about you, Cody?
If I can find the right angle.
You're on 4.
Hey, there I am. So I started, hey, Will, I started reading the book of Manly Men that he had given you. And I read the first couple of chapters. And then I'm not going to lie, I started slacking away, but I have been reading the Bible more. I think ever since then, after I kind of slowed away, it was like a couple of days after I started reading the Bible out loud to myself and to my wife first thing in the morning. and I'll read a couple of chapters. But it's oddly enough, it just seems like I keep getting book recommendations out of the woodwork. You know, Scott Helsley, he recommended a book to me just yesterday by Rick Warren called Created to Dream.
Right.
And I shared with him the vision or what the new events that's happened with the ministry. And he's like, hey, check this book out. Even if you hit just for the bullet points, read it, you know? So I'm like, I could probably do that. So,
Yeah.
but yeah.
It, you know, I admire people that read. It's just something that my teachers could tell you that I was never really the reading type, and I've just never curled up with a good book.
Yeah.
I just don't do that. What about you, Casey?
I'm reading a book by, I forgot who the author is, but it's for my small group. It's about attitudes, but I'm reading it more so for my small group, but there is valuable information in there. But the last time I read a book that I truly, truly enjoyed was Sometimes You Win, Sometimes You Learn by John Maxwell. So it's about failure. And it was, at the time, I didn't realize how important it was going to be in my life, because when I lived in Northern Kentucky, I was also working on my nonprofit. And then when God moved me here, it was, can't do that anymore. So at some point, I'll restart that here in town. But it was just a really good book. And he gave plenty examples of people who failed in the past, Michael Jordan, Abraham Lincoln. So that is a really good book to either read or listen to on Audible. It's a really good one.
What was the name of your nonprofit again?
I Care Foundation Incorporated.
I Care. Have you ever talked about that on the podcast?
I have not.
What's that about?
So that was going to be about, in the future, it'll be about helping individuals overcome poverty, because that's my story.
Gotcha.
So when Preston and I lived in Northern Kentucky, we went without basic needs.
Okay.
And so the situation that I found myself in being on government assistance is we had Section 8. So there's the threshold for Section 8, but we also got food stamps. When I began to earn money, my rent responsibility increased, my food stamps decreased. So there's this gap of income. So that was really a problem for me. But at the time, I didn't realize how God moving me back to Madisonville would be the step taken to get out of poverty. And I've been out of poverty for about 5 years now since being back here. And it's been a blessing. Yeah.
Amen.
That is, if folks have been watching this podcast, there has been themes, and people keep saying, when I come back to Madisonville, is whenever I got over the addiction. And I can't remember who else it was. There was somebody else on it was saying, when I come back to Madisonville, Donnie Carroll, he said, when I come back to Madisonville.
And Rob, when he moved here, I think that was his story. Yeah.
That's amazing.
Yeah. When I grew up here, I didn't really see the value in Madisonville. And I'm not really sure why, but it took God, going back to college in Northern Kentucky and then coming back and being surrounded by the people at our church, which is a huge deal. I think it's important for you to allow God to plant you in the place where he wants you and not try to do it yourself.
Absolutely.
Sure. Yeah.
That, while you were talking, I looked up that book, the QBQ, and it is by Gary Miller.
Okay.
And I would really, no, I'm sorry, John Miller.
John Miller. Okay.
John G. Miller. I would highly recommend anybody to go get that book. It's Practicing Personal Accountability at work and in life. And that is one book I did read cover to cover. And it got me right from chapter 1. And I started just like, oh, I need more of this. I need more of this. And especially if you're coming from poverty and, sometimes, I've been poor. I probably still am poor, but, not in spirit though. I'm rich,
Amen.
Yeah.
But, these, like that book and some of the principles in that book helped me take a look at myself and be like, hey, I need to change this, or, so it'd be a really good one to look at for sure.
Yeah.
Good deal. Is there anything you guys want to discuss?
I feel like we was on a roll. There was a whole lot of things rolling.
Yeah.
That we could still talk about. But the, I'd like to talk more about the life of poverty,
Mm-hmm.
because there's a lot of people out there that are living in poverty, and they can change that.
They
Yeah.
can.
You've got control over that.
Mm-hmm.
And tell us a little bit more. What was the breaking point, and what started to cause you to shift that gear? I know you just said Madisonville,
Yeah.
but is there more things that you could say and elaborate on that just a little bit more?
Absolutely. I remember this one particular time because we were always waiting for our food stamps to drop. You get your food stamps on a certain day, and I was always waiting for it to drop. And I had this thought, the government's not helping me enough. And then the thought came, well, the government didn't tell you to get yourself in this situation. You did things outside of God's will, and now you're in this situation. So for me, it was one of those, God had to speak pretty much a word to me of responsibility. It's not the government's fault. We have to take responsibility for the choices that we made. And I didn't make the right choice. First, God actually told me to stop being involved with the person that I was involved in before I got pregnant, which I'm grateful for my son. I really am. But God said, leave this person alone, because God knows how things are going to play out.
Yeah.
And it didn't play out well. I chose to be a single mom because the relationship was toxic. And so at some point, as you get older and you mature as a parent, you realize that you don't want your child being raised in certain dynamics. So for me, it was the realization of God just having to grab hold of my attention and helping me to be wise and knowing that I do have control over the decisions that I make. I need to start making godly decisions.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's so awesome. And I think this, we could have shut this podcast down, but I think some things are being said right now that hopefully there's some people watching that some light bulbs can start to come on, because I can remember back when I was younger, and we struggled. I mean, we had 4 little kids, and I was telling you guys earlier a little bit about my story of, no, I don't have a college degree. I didn't have any of that. Mostly by my choice. My parents would have sent me to college and done whatever. I didn't want to go, but anyway, so whenever I got married, and for the first, I'd say the first several years, I was still immature kid and not doing the right things that I should be doing. And then one day I finally started to wake up and and realize that, hey, I'm the man here. I've got this, my wife and my kids that are looking up to Dad to, I'm modeling in front of them what they're going to be. And I started to finally wake up, and that's whenever I started getting in, read a couple books, and I started listening to Dave Ramsey's show. And, I know I've mentioned Dave Ramsey several times on the podcast throughout the last episodes, but I'll be honest with you, starting to listen to him really helped me so much, to just his common sense approach in, about life, and, and we can control our money, and we do have some control over what we do. And, it's not always woe is me. And, instead of woe is me, I'm just going to get up and do something, and I'm going to find some way to drive something forward. That's kind of the way it is in this business right now in Creative Media Group. My history, I was on the road working with manufacturers. I worked with three or four major manufacturers over my 20 plus years career. And now all of a sudden I'm out of that scene. And I decided I was going into this and going to try to make a thing of it. And so, Cody, and as well, I'm hitting every avenue of whatever I can to make something happen. And I'm okay with that, because it's, it just is what it is, and I got a phone call now. It's distracted me, but that's okay. But I think, if you're out there and you're a young person and you haven't figured out a way to get it going forward, here is one thing I believe that a lot of young people get caught up in. they have microwave mentality. They believe that, well, I'm going to go try this today, and I might try that for 3 days. And if that don't work out, then they move on to something else. And I can tell you from my years of doing business and different things, baby steps matter. Those small moves forward. You might not be able to understand that what you did today is going to propel you tomorrow, but you just got to keep stacking those on top of each other. And there's going to be days where you feel like, man, it was a failure today. But that's just going to happen.
Yeah.
But you're going to get up tomorrow and continue to go and try to make the small wins. You know, I used to be really bad about trying to set a goal that was never obtainable. And then it set me up to fail every time. Now, obviously, when you fail, you're going to learn some things, right? But don't set a goal up that you're never going to be able to attain right now. You can always set a new goal.
Yeah.
You know, after you're getting that, and you know, you need some wins. You need to have some small wins, and then you can start to increase that.
Yeah.
But, you know, those are some things that when I think back and was in, you know, a young kid and didn't really know what I was going to do or what the answers were or anything like that. You know, it was, I can relate to a lot of people out there that's in that, maybe in that scenario right now.
Yeah. God will do so much, but it requires us using our hands as well. I believe Moses said, confirm and establish the work of our hands. I'm not sure if it was Moses, but it's in the Bible.
Yeah.
But confirm and establish the work of our hands. So God has anointed each one of us to do something for his kingdom that will help other people.
Yeah. I remember you saying, or no, the word says, God had asked Moses, like, what's in your hand? You know, and it's like a staff. It's the staff, you know, and that's the same staff that he raised when they were fighting against another country. And when he kept the staff raised, they were winning. When he lowered it, they were losing. And same staff that he, you know, did all those miraculous signs with, you parted the sea and everything like that. It's like, what has God placed in your hands? And even though it may not look much, but if you're faithful with it, he's going to provide.
Absolutely.
You know, I remember when I was strung out, you know, this was like in the early years of drug addiction, that I was sitting in a park, and it was a beautiful day. It was a beautiful day. I was sitting in a park because I had nowhere else to go, you know, and I just remember seeing a family playing and having fun. I was off in the distance, but I was watching this family, and I was like, I wish I could have that. But, you know, it took that work. So for me, whenever that moment happened, while I was completely ready to, you know, just like, I'm done with this lifestyle. I know I can't do this on my own. You know, that's where community comes in, like you were talking about. And I had to surround myself with people that was going to help encourage me, help me celebrate those small wins, you know, help me to tell me this ain't that and this ain't this, you know. And people who've been there, done that, in a sense of, it's like, hey, I understand what you're going through. But it was many years later until that moment happened. But then, yes, I had to surround myself with people, like-minded people, surrounding myself with people who I want to be when I grow up. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And it's like, putting in that hard work is hard. Oftentimes, I didn't want to do it, but I kept remembering the times when I was urban camping because I was homeless, you know, or behind a jail cell, inside of a jail cell, you know. I was like, that gave me momentum, that gave me drive. I was like, I don't want to go back to that. So I have to do what I need to do.
You got to do something different.
Yeah, absolutely. And so, yeah, in August, I'll have 5 years sobriety, thanks to Jesus. So
that's awesome.
Yeah. I think it's so amazing that when we're praying for things and transitions in our life, we don't realize the exact people that we're praying for. So when I lived in Northern Kentucky, I was praying for a community that could help support my passions and my desires. And he blessed me with people like you all and people at Victory. So don't stop praying. Don't stop pursuing the things that the Lord wants you to do. And he'll place the right people in your path, but it's going to be his timing.
Yeah.
And that was my problem. I was always putting the cart before the horse.
You know, it's so true what you're saying, and it just kind of opened my mind up a little bit. You can be in a scenario right now, and you don't see any light at the end of the tunnel.
Mm-hmm.
And in 3 days, it can completely change.
Yeah.
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 I mean, I've seen that so many times, you know, in my life where I'm like, I don't see a way to change this. I don't see a way to do that or anything like that. And in 3 days, it's like it just opened up.
Mm-hmm.
But a lot of the things that and that makes me think about somebody that, I mean, you know, obviously people sometimes commit suicide.
Mm-hmm.
And I start to think about what would their life been 30 days from now? Because in 30 days, you could have been from, you know, in a scenario where you was going to end your life. And 30 days later, could have been a scenario that's just like outstanding that you would have never dreamed of.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, I've seen that stuff in my life. I've never been like suicidal or anything like that. I'm not saying that, but I've been down and out.
Mm-hmm.
And in 30 days, be in a scenario where, wow, I'm getting this. This is,
Yeah.
you know, and I think a lot of it has to do, for me, when I've seen major changes like that, it was realizing that it's not just me.
Mm-hmm.
I'm bad about that. I will get into a cycle where, you know, being in sales for all those years, I've got into cycles where, how am I going to make this happen? How am I going to do this? How am I going to do that? And, you know, I got to do this. And if you notice, it's all about I.
Mm-hmm.
And I catch myself, and I want you guys to hold me accountable when you hear me do that. Cause then there's times where, look, hey, wait a minute. It's not, you know, I can't do this.
Mm-hmm.
And the times that I've had the most successful runs in sales is where I've like, you know, God, I don't have an answer for this. If this is going to happen, you're going to have to help me with this, because I don't know the answer. And not knowing the answer, all of a sudden now you're having to depend on him.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And that will open things up.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
I think God likes it that way.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure he does like it that way.
Yeah.
Sometimes we have to be reminded that,
Yeah.
you know, we don't hold all the keys.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
We got to hold some of the keys.
Mhm.
We got to get up. You know, we got to get up in the morning and go to work. We got to try to do smart things, but we're not the ultimate key.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
You got to understand that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm reminded, just as you said, that, you know, the things that I have is what he's been given back to me.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm just a steward of it, you know, and I've got to remind myself, yeah, I'm a steward of what he's blessed me with. I'm a steward of the life that he's given me. I'm a steward of the family, my daughter that's now full time in my life. And yeah, I didn't even talk about that. Our whole family dynamic has changed, you know, and I'm so grateful for this beautiful little girl that's in our lives. And yeah, how can I be a good steward of what he's given me? Time management, you know. So, but yeah.
Yeah, it's you know, time management is very important, and especially if you want to get to where you need to go, you have to allow time for these things. And you know, yeah, you're right. I mean, I struggle with that because you know, throughout my life, I've kind of, you know, I get really super excited about things. You guys know that about me.
Yeah.
Like this can happen. I'm like, man, I'm on fire for that.
Yeah.
And then I might be, you know, in a week from now, I'll be on fire for this. But lately, just to be honest with you, I've always known this about myself, that from really a young age, especially, I'll pin a time to it, maybe around 15, 16 years old. I knew that I was really into production, like camera, video production, and stuff like that. It's always been a passion for me. And like now, I kind of look back and I'm like, why didn't I try to do something with that when I was younger versus now I'm older? I don't know. It just, the timing wasn't there or whatever. But now I get super excited about it and I talk to you guys and it's like things are being revealed to me about CMG, Creative Media Group. And then I'm like, okay, yeah, I get that. And then another facet opens up and I'm like, no, this is, so I'm having those things happen. And I kind of got us running around in a lot of different places, but it's, it's been an exciting last little bit. And that's one reason why we're here today to kind of talk about how we're going to do our episodes and different things. Do you want to talk about that a little bit more, Casey?
Absolutely. So because we want to improve and grow and develop and offer you guys the best content, we're going to enter a season of planning. And we're going to be, not, you're fine. So
we got the right camera.
So we won't be filming right now any full-length podcasts, but we're still going to be offering you short form content as we begin to plan and prepare for the future.
Yeah. And I think, we're sitting here and discussing that, and I got super excited because the short form content, now I'm done thinking about other things too. And like short form content is so important.
Yeah.
Not only for us as a Creative Side Podcast, but for businesses.
Yeah.
That, and people that want to promote their products, that's another thing that we can offer to do for them. But getting that kind of content out there, and some of the things that we discuss about how we're going to do that really excites me. I won't give away a lot. You'll just have to stay tuned and you'll be seeing it. But so as we go through that time period, and then we'll come back into another season of full-length podcast, and it'll run for a length of time. And then we'll go back into kind of our off season where it's more short-form content. But I won't say anything about what we were talking about. You know what I'm talking about?
Yeah. Yeah.
I won't say anything about that because we'll put that in the works. But But anyway,
good things.
Maybe we need to edit this part out. I don't know.
You can keep it.
No,
it's all right.
It's all good.
Yeah.
Just know that we're excited about what's coming, and you all should be excited as well.
But before we go, let's talk a little bit about. I want Cody to talk about it a little bit, but over in CMG, we've been creating ads, ad sets for. I come from the equipment business. Okay, so I know a lot of mom and pop dealers around the country, and really throughout my career, even when I was working with manufacturers, I helped dealers in a way that kind of goes above and beyond, creating things for them to help them. The last company I was at, we didn't have marketing that did that sort of thing, so I kind of come up with a grassroots effort. Now, the company had some national marketing. That's great. But that's not grassroots. That's not helping mom and pop right there. Ultimately, it does help them, but they need to brand themselves. So I was encouraged by the company to, bring my talent to it and start helping them. So that was one of the things that I did. And now that I'm no longer with that company, I've kind of brought that out of that, and we're still continuing to do that now as a business. So we've got some mom and pop dealers around the country that we're creating content for their social media, because it's incredibly important. If you're not moving your business forward and making your business visible online, then you're falling behind. Can you say a few things on, maybe the things we've been doing on that front from your standpoint?
Yeah. So first of all, I'm just grateful to even be a part of that. I really enjoy helping to promote the mom and pop the family, because there's so much big box stores out there, and to help the smaller businesses to get their products out there, to let them know it's like, hey, we're here, we want to help you, we have provide a service, we provide equipment and things of that, to have them stick out amongst the other ones and to really just bring their name up, like you were saying, the branding aspect of it. We want people to see the family owners, the mom and pop, the brother and sister stores, to let them know it's like, hey, this is us. We happen to offer a service.
Yeah. And from a manufacturer standpoint, some of these mom and pops, they're connected with major manufacturers. And like I was just saying, the manufacturers, they brand themselves really well. And many times the small mom and pop, they will, continue the branding of the major manufacturer, which is good. They need to do that. But there's doing nothing to brand the mom and pop.
Right.
As, they have a brand too, right? Yeah. And that's where we come in and we help with these ad sets. Can you talk a little bit more about what that is?
So I help Shane with these ad sets, and like I said, I really enjoy doing these. So what we do is we create 10 static images with this certain package, and it's branded with your logo, your name, your product that you carry, like say if you carry Vermeer or Mahindra or things of that nature.
Yeah.
But so, and then we post them on your behalf to your Facebook page. And so what you're getting is consistent static ads, 10 per month, every month, as long as you like to be a part of it. And so you don't have to worry about, I was like, what am I going to post this week or next week? No, I think from my understanding is that the business owner needs to be focused more on their business and not let us do the driving the traffic to your business. Let us do that. So yeah, it's really cool because I really enjoy doing that. And I think you had shared with us not too long ago that the result of some of these ads is driving traffic and engagement to these businesses like skyrocketing.
It is. It's I was telling you guys about some of that because it's impressive to go look at the analytics. So whenever we're posting to their page, and it's kind of hands off, like you were just saying, we create the ad that follows the guidelines of the manufacturer, but we add in their logo and brand them along with it as well. So these equipment dealers, many of them have co-op dollars that the manufacturer will give them, and they can spend on these kind of things. So all of that's a part of it. But the increased analytics from our ads that I've been seeing have been astounding. Like bringing dealers up 120% engagement and stuff like that. So I'm super excited about that. And we primarily are doing equipment now because that's where my background's at. I know a lot about that, whether it's tractors, lawnmowers, boats, trailers, you name it, any kind of equipment like that. Many times those manufacturers, there is real, and I'll go ahead and be a little transparent with you. So I was a territory manager, business manager, whatever you want to call it. And I had accounts that I would go visit. And there's always a battle between the manufacturer and the dealer. The manufacturer will give co-op dollars, and then they're always pressing that dealer to spend those co-op dollars. And many of those dealers won't spend those dollars, which is nuts. Because if they're giving you money, and many of them will give you 50-50 co-op. So in other words, if I go in and I sell you these 10 ads, the manufacturer's going to pay for half of that.
Yeah.
So it's almost like a no-brainer. So it gets the price down very, very affordable. But the cool thing about it is we love doing it.
Yeah.
It's not that, what's the reason why we love doing it? The reason is, you may have already said it, we love to do something that helps this business win.
Yeah.
And, you know, just because I love to be a part of that, if there's something I can do to help your business win, I know, man, I help them do that. And I get a lot of reward out of that. It's not just money.
Yeah.
You're on the same page with
Absolutely. Absolutely. Whether it's it's a small community that needs help with the church, or whether it's a 10 assets for the local business down the road or across the state or across the nation. Yeah, we really enjoy helping.
that.
Yeah.
You know, it doesn't, like you just said, it doesn't matter if you're a dealer in Texas.
Mm-hmm.
We can absolutely service you.
Mm-hmm.
Now, if you're a mom and pop dealer in Madisonville, Kentucky,
Mm-hmm.
where we're located, we would really love to work with you.
Absolutely.
If you're a mom and pop here, because we can offer you something a little different that we can't offer somebody in Texas.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And that's coming out in seeing you in person and being able to get video clips and things like that that can really drive the local business. So
Absolutely.
not trying to do an advertisement, but
Yeah.
why not do an advertisement?
Yeah, why not?
right?
Why not?
Yeah.
That's good, you guys. It's, as we said earlier, it's so good to be in community because you guys would have maybe never met
Yeah.
had you not moved back to the community and got planted where you are. And
Yeah.
same for me. So it's really important to be planted in a community, allow people to speak into your life,
Mm-hmm.
allow them to hold you accountable and say when things aren't going right. So any closing remarks before we...
One thing I've
Yeah.
got to say, and it's just like the overall common theme of what you had mentioned already, is that life changed when we moved to Madisonville.
Mm-hmm.
And like you mentioned, we've had several guests
Yeah.
come on here and say the same thing.
I'm going to add to that
Mhm.
and then we'll close this out.
Okay.
But I was thinking, you know, when I was hearing that, why did your life change coming from Madisonville? So for me, I remember I told you for the 20 plus years.
Mm-hmm.
So when I look back, I went to work at, 20 plus years ago. For over 20, probably 22, 23 years, I have not worked in Madisonville.
Wow.
Okay. Yeah, I've either worked for a company out of Indiana, company out of Texas, company out of Arkansas. So I have not worked for a company in Madisonville. And you guys are talking about changes when you're coming back to Madisonville. Well, guess what? I'm back to Madisonville,
Yeah.
even though I've,
Yeah.
live here.
Yeah.
But now I'm back here, and maybe it's my change right now,
Mhm.
Yeah.
and I don't see it yet.
Yeah.
Awesome.
That's
I love
good.
that.
Oh,
Yeah.
that's great.
I'm going to take that.
Yeah, absolutely.
I own it.
Thanks for
Yeah.
bringing that. Thanks for bringing
Yeah.
it up. Yeah.
It's good. So as you guys can hear, our community is a great community. I don't care what anybody says. It really is the best city on earth.
Yeah.
Even though it's a
Maybe
town.
maybe we can get City of Madisonville to pick up this podcast and share it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That would be great.
Yeah.
Yeah. We're so grateful for all you viewers and your loyalty. Just continue to stay tuned. We're going to continue to drop short form content. Make sure that you like, share, subscribe, comment. We want to engage with you guys. We want to have conversations with you. And we're just grateful that you are here with us on this journey. And thank you, Cody and Shane.
Thank you, Casey.
Thank you.
See you guys soon.